The preparation to be the most powerful individual in the world requires an extraordinary amount of work.
And Democrats who are interested in just politics and power, and they're looking for someone who's going to fight for them.
Both Democrats and Republicans have gotten us in the mess we're in, $18 trillion of debt, a bad deal with Iran. We're not staying with Israel. I think the American people are looking for real leadership. That's what I've done in Louisiana. That's what I'll do for America.
Get on stage with Hillary Clinton, we won't be debating about the science. We'll be debating about the solutions. Dependent. I am tired of sending $300 billion overseas to buy oil from people who hate our guts.
I think he needs somebody who hasn't been a career politician and who's been out of office for a while. But I look at this country today, and I look at how divided we are. I look at how politicians are always posturing and issuing sound bites, but never solving problems.
Due respect, and nobody on either one of these stages has done more than I've done and the people of the state of Texas to deal with securing that border. We sent our Texas Ranger recon teams. We sent our Parks and Wildlife wardens. I deployed the National Guard. After I stood on the ramp in Dallas, Texas, and looked the President of the United States in the eye and said, Mr. President, if you won't secure the border, Texas will. And that's exactly what we did.
I'll actually name the enemy that we confront. We've got a president who cannot bring himself to say the words radical Islamic terrorism. To say that Islam has a problem, and that problem is radical Islam. To say they've got to condemn not just generic acts of violence, but the individual murderers who are committing these acts of violence. You win a war by killing murderous, evil terrorists. We're going to take the political handcuffs off the military. We will arm and train the Kurds. We will work with our Sunni allies. They know we will be committed to victory.
Why should the American people, after 2 wars in Iraq, sacrifice yet again on a 3rd war?
If we don't stop them over there, they are coming here just as sure as I stand here in front of you. One thing I want to be clear about tonight. If you're running for President of the United States and you don't understand that we need more American ground forces in Iraq and that America has to be part of a regional ground force that will go into Syria and destroy ISIL in Syria, then you're not ready to be Commander-in-Chief. And you're not. We need a ground force in Iraq and Syria, and America has to be part of that ground force.
So here's the question. How far are you willing to go to root out this problem here at home?
Martha, religious liberty doesn't include encouraging a fellow American to engage in violent jihad and kill an American here. That is not protected free speech. That is not protected religious belief. That is like shouting fire in a crowded theater, and that is illegal. And I would do everything in our power not just to go after those who are here, who we know who are here, before they can radicalize other Americans to carry out attacks. And it's not just the ones they've arrested. No radical Islam that is allowed to engage in encouraging violence against Americans, that is not protected speech. But let me just add one thing about ISIS over there. We have got to destroy their training camps and recruiting centers. I would not place one American life at risk unless it was absolutely necessary. But to destroy ISIS, it is necessary.
So would you tonight call for Google and Apple to cooperate in these investigations and let the FBI in where they need to go?
I absolutely would call on them to collaborate and cooperate.
Advantages, because what we've warned of is an international guerrilla movement that threatens this country. It's going to happen in this country. There are going to be further attacks. We have to be prepared to defend the American people, prepare them for a long war, stand up for the defense of this country, and stand up for the values of this country.
Thank you, Governor.
The border is still porous. Until we have a president of the United States that gets up every day and goes to the Oval Office with the intent purpose of securing that border. And there's not anybody on either one of these stages that has the experience of dealing with this as I have for over 14 years with that 1,200-mile border. We have to put the personnel on that border in the right places. You have to put the strategic fencing in place. And you have to have aviation assets that fly all the way from Tijuana to El Paso to Brownsville, Texas, 1,933 miles, looking down 24/7 with the technology to be able to identify what individuals are doing and ID when they are in obviously illegal activities or suspicious activities, and quick response teams that come at that particular point in time. Then Americans will believe that Washington is up to a conversation to deal with the millions of people that are here here illegally.
That comes from Logan Christopher Boyer of St. Louis, Missouri. He says, how will you disarm Iran and keep the Middle East from becoming nuclearized? So let's open. So which side do you believe we should be on?
We need to be on the side that keeps Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. That's the side we need to be on, and that's the side of the bulk of the Middle East. Whoever the next president of the United States is going to be, and I'll promise you, if it's me, the first thing that I will do is tear up that agreement with Iran.
Yep, sometimes it's a complicated situation, but some things are black and white. On day one in the Oval Office, I would make 2 phone calls. The first one would be to my good friend Bibi Netanyahu to reassure him we will stand with the State of Israel. The second will be to the Supreme Leader of Iran. He might not take my phone call, but he would get the message. And the message is this: until you open every nuclear and every military facility to full, open, anytime, anywhere, for real inspections, we are going to make it as difficult as possible for you to move money around the global financial system.
First thing I'd tell the American people, whatever it takes to defend our nation, I would do.
Immigration. We must insist on assimilation. Immigration without assimilation is an invasion.
We need somebody ready to be commander-in-chief on day one, who understands there are no moderates in Iran. They've been killed a long time ago. That the Ayatollah is a radical jihadist who really means it when he chants death to America, death to Israel. And this deal is giving him a pathway to a bomb, a missile to deliver it, and money to pay for it all.
The last thing the country needs is another Bush in the Oval Office.
I'm proud of my dad, and I'm certainly proud of my brother.
You recently blamed the rise of ISIS on Republican hawks. And you said, quote, everything they've talked about in foreign policy, they've been wrong for the last 20 years. Why are you so quick to blame your own party?
I've got a proposal. I'm the leading voice in America for not arming the allies of ISIS. ISIS rides around in $1 billion worth of U.S. Humvees. It's a disgrace. We ought to stop it. We shouldn't fund our enemies, for goodness sakes. So we didn't create ISIS. ISIS created themselves, but we will stop them. And one of the ways we stop them is by not funding them and by not arming them.
You asked the chairman of the Joint Chiefs a question. What would it take to destroy ISIS in 90 days? He told you ISIS will only be truly destroyed once they are rejected by the populations in which they hide. And then you accused him of pushing Medicaid for the Iraqis.
We will not defeat radical Islamic terrorism so long as we have a president unwilling to utter the words radical Islamic terrorism. When I asked General Dempsey, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, what would be required militarily to destroy ISIS, he said there is no military solution. We need to change the conditions on the ground so that young men are not in poverty and susceptible to radicalization. That, with all due respect, is nonsense. It's the same answer the State Department gave, that we need to give them jobs. What we need is a commander-in-chief who makes clear, if you join ISIS, if you wage jihad on America, then you are signing your death warrant.
You don't see it as an ideology? How do you look at them now and say your brother's war was a mistake?
Knowing what we know now, with faulty intelligence and not having security be the first priority when we invaded, it was a mistake. I wouldn't have gone in. Here's the lesson that we should take from this, which relates to this whole subject. Barack Obama became president, and he abandoned Iraq. He left, and when he left, Al-Qaeda was done for. ISIS was created because of the void that we left. And that void now exists as a caliphate the size of Indiana. To honor the people that died, we need to stop the Iran agreement for sure, because the Iranian mullahs have their blood on their hands, and we need to take out ISIS with every tool at our disposal.
As president, would you bring back waterboarding?
We've gotten into this mindset of fighting politically correct wars. There is no such thing as a politically correct war. The left, of course, will say Carson doesn't believe in the Geneva Convention. Carson doesn't believe in fighting stupid wars.
You said that you would tear up the Iran deal on day one. If this deal is undone, what then?
To me, you terminate the deal on day one. You reinstate the sanctions authorized by Congress. You go to Congress and put in place even more crippling sanctions in place. And then you convince our allies to do the same. This is not just bad with Iran. This is bad with ISIS. It is tied together. And once and for all, we need a leader who's going to stand up and do something about it. I oppose the Iranian deal and will vote against it. I don't think that the president negotiated from a position of strength, but I don't immediately discount negotiations. I'm a Reagan conservative. Reagan did negotiate with the Soviets, but you have to negotiate from a position of strength, and I think President Obama gave away too much too early.
Ronald Reagan said trust but verify. President Obama is trust but vilify. He trusts our enemies and vilifies everyone who disagrees with him. And
we have a president who doesn't have a clue. I would say he's incompetent, but I don't want to do that because that's not nice. What's happened in Iran is a disgrace, and it's going to lead to destruction in large portions of the world.
What we have to stop and think about is the fact that we have weakened ourselves militarily to such an extent that it affects all of our military policies. I would shore up our military first, because if you don't get the military right, nothing else is going to work.
I would send weapons to Ukraine. I would work with NATO to put forces on the eastern border of Poland and the Baltic nations, and I would reinstate and put in place back in the missile defense system that we had in Poland and in the Czech Republic.
the military is not a social experiment. The purpose of the military is kill people and break things. The purpose is to protect America. We've reduced the military by 25% under President Obama. The disaster is that we've forgotten why we have a military. The purpose of it is to make sure that we protect every American wherever that American is. And if an American is calling out for help, whether it's in Benghazi or at the border, then we ought to be able to answer it. We've not done that because we've decimated our military. We're flying B-52s. The most recent one that was put in service was November of 1962.
My original opinion is, do you borrow money from China to send it to anyone? Out of your surplus, you can help your allies, and Israel is a great ally, and this is no particular animus of Israel. But what I will say, and I will say over and over again, we cannot give away money we don't have.
The first thing we need to do to make America stronger is to strengthen our military. And I put out a really specific plan. No less than 500,000 active duty soldiers in the Army. No less than 185,000 active duty Marines in the Marine Corps. Bring us to a 350-ship Navy again and modernize the Ohio-class of submarines and bring our Air Force back to 2,600 aircraft that are ready to go. Those are the kind of things that are going to send a clear message around the world. Those are the things that we need to start working on immediately to make our country stronger and make it better.
I'm blessed to receive a word from God every day and receiving the Scriptures and reading the Scriptures, and God speaks through the Bible.
In my lifetime, the Lord's not picking us, but because of how we respect human rights, because that we are a good force in the world, He wants America to be strong, He wants America to succeed, and He wants America to lead.
I'm certainly an imperfect man, and it's only by the blood of Jesus Christ that I've been redeemed from my sins. So I know that God doesn't call me to do a specific thing. God hasn't given me a list, the 10 commandments, if you will, of things to act on the first day.
I think God has blessed us. He's blessed the Republican Party with some very good candidates. The Democrats can't even find one.
I was a member of the Armed Services Committee for 18 years. I spent a big chunk of my life studying national security issues and our role in the world.
Number two, we got to stop worrying about being loved and start worrying about being respected, and that's exactly how I'll lead our country.
In Boulder, and I'm the only one that leads Hillary Clinton in 5 states that were won by President Obama. I'm a different kind of Republican.
And the journey from the back of that bar to this stage tonight, to me, that's the essence of the American dream. It's what makes our nation different. And I'm running for president because I want that to still be possible for the people trying to do that now.
If I am elected president, let me tell you about my first day in office. The first thing I intend to do is to rescind every illegal and unconstitutional executive action taken by Barack Obama.
The only one to take out half of a brain, although you would think if you go to Washington that someone had beat me to it.
But it's going to take leadership who sees the greatness of this country and who believes that once again we can be one nation under God. I'll be my best to do that, and thank you for your support.
We balanced the budget, cut taxes, and turned our state around with big, bold reforms. It wasn't too late for Wisconsin, and it's not too late for America.
Here's what I believe. I believe we're at the verge of the greatest time to be alive in this world. But Washington is holding us back. How we tax, how we regulate, We're not embracing the energy revolution in our midst, a broken immigration system that has been politicized rather than turning it into an economic driver. We're not protecting and preserving our entitlement system or reforming for the next generation. All these things languish while we have politicians in Washington using these as wedge issues.
Our country is in serious trouble. We don't win anymore. We can't do anything right. Our military has to be strengthened. Our vets have to be taken care of. We have to end Obamacare, and we have to make our country great again, and I will do that. Thank you.